joining me now, Tennessee Senator Bob Corker. Sir, this might be one of the most important votes that you take as a senator, but it also could be one of the last ones that you take as you are retiring. And I wonder what your thoughts are today as you have a historic day, over a weekend, right up to the deadline, with all of the midterms looming and then the 2020 election beyond it. I mean, this is some pretty high stakes.
Well, Dan, it is, and I'm very confident in my vote. I'm looking forward to it. I talked to Judge Kavanaugh this morning and thanked him for his willingness to serve the country in this manner and to go through all this, and talked to Don McGahn, who's, I think, going to leave the White House whenever he leaves with a tremendous legacy for our country. Talked to Susan Collins yesterday and thanked her for a speech that to me was historic and not only reflected well on all Republicans, but I think the Senate as a whole. And so, yes, it's a big day. It's a great day for our nation. And I look forward to the vote at 3:30 or 4, whenever it takes place.
I'm wondering what you think about the partnership between President Trump and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell when it comes to judges. They've been working in concert together. They have a record number of judges confirmed already. This would make the second Supreme Court justice. And how have you seen that play out over the past couple of years?
Well, Senator McConnell makes no bones about the fact that this will be, in some ways, transformative. This is going to be, as you know, better than most. I mean, this is going to impact our country for more than a generation. We're still going to confirm more judges after this throughout the duration of this year. Still have a lot of work to do in that regard. But look, this is a legacy that the president and our majority leader can be very proud of, and they've worked very well together. And let's face it, Mitch has been dogged in his approach. He just keeps pressing on, doesn't get distracted, and he's done an outstanding job with this. He really has.
Senator, I was picking up on a couple of things you said this past week, but before I get there, what was Brett Kavanaugh's state of mind this morning when you spoke with him?
You know, he was very upbeat. He was very upbeat. I can't imagine the life that he has lived over the last couple of weeks, and just the horror of being accused of something like this, coming before the tenor that he's had to take, if you will, from on the other side of the aisle in both of the hearings. But it's been very difficult, very upbeat. Bill, I told him I was very envious. I've lived a pretty full life and met many people in my life, but I think it spoke volumes about who he is to see how many friends, close friends that he has who've come out on his behalf, people that have known him all of his life. And I told him, obviously, in a somewhat joking way, I was envious of him and having so many close friends who supported and loved him the way they do.
Now, did he express what he shared in the Wall Street Journal piece the other night about being too emotional at a point during that hearing 10 days ago?
No, you know, I read that, obviously. But, you know, I think at this point he knows what the outcome is going to be, and I think he's focused on the future and committed, after all that's happened, to being the very best Supreme Court justice that he can possibly be. And I think he's going to double down on that. And I think his colleagues will embrace him well when he gets there, just because of the kind of person that he is.
Did you get a chance to speak to his wife, Ashley, or find out about how
I did not.
She and the daughters are doing?
I did not, but I certainly asked him about that and shared my I don't know, my empathy for all that they have dealt with.
Sir, as you prepare to retire from the Congress and you look at how important the Supreme Court nominations have become for both Republicans and Democrats, for all Americans, what do you think about Congress's role here and the need to sort of reassert itself as a legislative body, passing laws and not relying on the court to make law?
Well, Dana, you know, you're hitting the nail on the head as to why there's so many protests and why, you know, this ends up being such an emotional battle, because we are not doing our job. So many of the things that the Supreme Court has to resolve are things that we should be passing legislation with. And no matter how you may feel about the recent tariff issues, my concern was using the 232 tariff issue, which really is Congress's role, the Section 232 of the 74 Trade Act. Again, it's just a continual situation of Congress, you know, not really stepping up or giving away some of its responsibilities. So you're exactly right. I mean, if Congress would resolve these big issues for our nation as Congress is supposed to do, these Supreme Court nominations and battles would not be emotional at all.
Thank you, sir.
Senator, we're going to move to another guest, but I just want to quote you from Tuesday night, because this is where you came out publicly and said you were a yes, essentially. Those who were sympathetic to Dr. Ford could not recall or provide any evidence to support her story. Did you make that argument to other senators who might have been on the fence or not?
I did. We had some discussions down in the SCIF as we were all reading this. And then let me just say one other thing, Bill. Women have suffered injustices for decades. We all know that, and our heart goes out to them for that. But to project those injustices that have happened to them onto an individual like Judge Kavanaugh that have absolutely nothing to do with that is also an injustice. And I really do think that the other side of the aisle, unfortunately, just over-leveraged this. They overreached, and I think the American people have seen that. And again, I look forward to today. As Dana was alluding to, these are emotional. Congress should step up and pass laws itself. Hopefully that will happen, but it's been the greatest privilege of my life, regardless of how we function, to serve in this body. And I thank you and others for how they've treated me. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Bob Corker, the Republican from Tennessee. Thank you for being here with us today. Back live.